The super rich, the major corporations and fund managers are all circling their wagons right now and are in full-blown protect their assets mode. If you follow the flow of money, you also have a good indicator of how the future will play out for the common person. You won't know the actual conclusions because anything could happen, but you will know the possible outcomes. These massive wealth hoarders have gotten to where they are by understanding and overcoming the threats that they have faced. They're in a unique position to take a bit of a look over the horizon, and they're pretty much driving us all, sometimes kicking and screaming, to where they want us to go. They're also especially averse to loss. Their goal for themselves and their investors is to maximize profits at any cost while reducing their own cost. Survive and maximize, you might say, just like a prepper. In this video, we will examine what the ultra wealthy are currently doing, how this could impact your future, and what you should be doing right now to prepare, if anything. Download the Start Preparing Survival Guide to help you prepare for any disaster. I'll post a link in the description and comments section below, or visit cityprepping.com/get started for a free guide to help you get started on your journey of preparedness. What are they doing? The wealthy, they're buying land, energy, and water. According to at least one article this week, the ultra-rich are also looking to build bunkers and purchase private land and mercenary security forces to get them through the next unknown disaster. They're looking to preserve assets simultaneously as they are staring at a prolonged global recession and currency slowing and decreasing in value. Traditionally, this has driven investors into bonds or precious metals, and some of that is still going on. However, with whole economies teetering on the brink of a more significant decline, bonds are not yielding much return. Investments in precious metals occurred in the run-up to the current economic crisis and through the COVID lockdowns, so they are still riding all-time historical highs. Now the money is flowing to the most stable assets, resources in the form of land, water, and energy. During the 2020 market crash, the wealthy came out ahead the following year, doubling their asset ownership. The rich buy assets when everyone else is selling, and this year is no exception. These are the three things that you're always going to need to survive. We have previously done a video on the rich buying up farming and water resources, and I'll link to those two videos at the end of this one because they are still valid. To see how the future will likely play out, you must look at where these ultra-rich are pumping their money. That's what will get protected and promulgated. In addition to those big two of land and water resources, the rich are investing in alternative energy because they know that the fossil-based system is an increasingly unreliable and inconsistent profit generator. Companies like Tesla, Lucid, and Rivian, makers of electric vehicles, they're all doing very well. With countries reeling from inflation and rising energy costs, government policies also reflect a move toward renewable energies, with the added benefit of severing their dependencies on foreign energy sources, a problem Europe is currently facing. Policy often mirrors the desires and investments of the wealthier citizens, so expect incentives and tax breaks favoring renewables. As I pointed out in earlier videos, oil and natural gas are currently being used as a weapon of war, with OPEC Plus and Russia scaling back output to keep the price of a barrel of oil high. Meanwhile, Russia sells to China, which then sells to the world to circumnavigate sanctions and keep the money flowing. There's too much potential for sanctions, seizures, and policy for intelligent, wealthy investors to sink too much capital into this industry. As an alternative to gold and to combat inflation, the ultra-rich are also taking advantage of the low prices of crypto, and possibly suffering through their losses in that market by doubling down on significant cryptocurrencies. It's in these moments when others are fleeing markets that the wealthy come in and scoop up assets at discounted prices. Wealth is built in bear markets. It's not so much the what they are investing in here as much as the why they are investing this way. Again, whole economies are teetering on the precipice of a more significant decline. At least some economies will probably collapse in the coming years. If you watched our recent video on China's economic collapse avoidance we released a few weeks ago, you'll see what a house of cards a world economy really is right now. Already there are a few countries with CBDCs, central bank digital currency, and even more, governments are exploring moving their currency to a digital coin. Speculators suspect that it's only a matter of time before a robust and secure enough platform is implemented or adopted that can carry fiat currencies into the digital realm. I detail these trends of the rich not to try to encourage you to go out and do the same. If you're like me, you can invest maybe the hundreds, but not the millions required to truly profit off the same investment strategies. If you were to muster the $1,700 spare cash to buy an ounce of gold, for instance, and it doubles to, let's say, $3,400, well, that's great. But the only problem is the cost of everything else that you need to survive also doubled in price while you were waiting on that return. The question now becomes whether you invest in speculative assets or the here and now, items that you'll require in the next few years that will very likely increase in price. The reason I note all these trends is because in all of them, there is an overabundance of caution and a strong desire to hide and squirrel away money and survival resources. There isn't confidence in the systems of government or commerce. It is as if the ultra-wealthy aren't looking at investing in the future as much as they're interested in protecting what they've already built and escaping in the future. The ironic part is that so many of the ultra-wealthy became so rich by selling the dream of the future in the first place. Many of the products that they brought to market to better our lives are fueling our very demise. Given recent articles and revelations about the ultra-rich building bunkers, establishing remote ranches, seeking citizenship in New Zealand, residency in Alaska, and the other resource-rich, low-population areas, it is clear that the ultra-wealthy aren't very confident that we are going to get through this swiftly approaching economic and societal downturn. How will this impact you? So, if we factor in their pessimism with the knowledge that they are also the ones with the long-term vision who are pulling the strings, for the most part, we have to ask them how this will impact us. First, there's land. Whether that's land purchased for large-scale farming and ranching, for the resources they contain, or for future building, raw land retains value through an economic cycle. Even if the commercial and residential real estate markets both implode, raw land remains a stable investment. In fact, as suburban residential housing falls, rural land increases in value because it is more sought after. While the percentage of corporate farms remains low, they aren't as incentivized to grow as a family farm is. It's easier to write off the loss on taxes than the struggle with the land in extreme weather. The same is true with factory farming operations. When the cost of grain and water is too high and then cuts too deeply into shareholder profits, the inclination is to reduce the output supply while demand remains high. Profits continue, but the available food supply is reduced. The real impact of land is when it comes to the resources they contain. As water continues to be a vital resource, especially in the western states, the value of land containing pockets of it goes up. None of that water makes it into the available supply until profits are high enough. Commercial operations can also impact output. In California and in Wales, Nestle operations are extracting, bottling, transporting, and selling millions upon millions of gallons and liters of water, even as those locations reel and suffer through horrible droughts. You might even have some of these bottles of water in your emergency supplies. Large-scale farming and winery operations in several areas throughout the United States have dropped the aquifer levels and forced locals to continue digging deeper wells. A modern-day corporatocracy has come to life that challenges your ability to prep and be free from its system. When it comes to ruling and passing laws in your favor or answering to the ultra-wealthy, let's just say money talks. So let's suppose this is our future where corporations are going to compete for the resources and control the supply chain, energy, and food. In that case, there's really only one answer for anyone who wants to remain as independent and self-sufficient as possible. It sounds pretty dystopian, but it also is becoming more likely with each passing day. Our solution to maintain our independence is practical preparedness. If the ultra-rich leaders of our corporations and industry do see some nasty stuff brewing in our future, prepping will be, I think, a means to survive. If it just gets bumpy on the road ahead and we make it through okay, practical prepping will be the equivalent of shock absorbers for you. Clearly, the ultra-rich are anticipating rocky times ahead, and you probably feel it in your bones as well. COVID was a wake-up call for many that their lives can change quickly. Harsh weather patterns that might linger for longer are a wake-up call for many as well. At the current pace, some areas will become uninhabitable while others become habitable, but not everyone has the luxury of buying land in a better climate zone. What you can do now is to focus on the fundamental preps, getting your food, your water, your energy, your medicine, security, and the like squared away. I would encourage you, build your skills and knowledge of your area and be ready to seize upon future opportunities. This channel will be focusing even more, and I've been announcing this lately, on self-sufficiency skills that you need to know to possibly use to survive later. I'm in the process right now of making some pretty significant changes in the coming months to move the content in that direction. Practical prepping really gives you more of an advantage over the ultra rich, because that private jet pilot that was going to fly that rich family to their survival compound has a family as well. When shtf happens, is he or she going to head to the airport or home? It's not likely that a gazillionaire is going to fly and land his own jet on a narrow runway of his own private Pacific island out in the middle of nowhere. If one thing is for sure, the time to prepare is now. And you can do that in small ways daily to have an incredible impact on your future. I don't know if the rich are just suddenly paranoid, or if they've thrown up their hands and given up on a future that they got rich selling to us, or they see something nefarious that we do not. I would encourage you to feel free to post a comment below to enlighten me in the comments section if you know more than I'm telling here. What I do know is that we're all seeing storm clouds on the horizon. And look, you can build an ark that you may not need in response to that, or you can just wait and hope that the storm will never come your way. One method puts the control in your hands, and the other surrenders your fate to the whims of nature. At the end of the day, we'll make it regardless of our net worth. It's just that we're in for some challenging times, and we're all beginning to recognize this fact. Your fellow subscribers are all a mix of long-term preppers and new preppers. They're a mix of political parties, and they're a mix of income brackets. They're young and they're old. Trust me, I see the demographics. I have information in my analytics that gives me insight into who I'm talking to. When you have such an eclectic mix of people all zeroing in on the uncertainty of the future, it would be wise to subscribe and to take note. Whether it's prophecy, self-fulfilling prophecy, or just dumb luck, there's a storm on the horizon, at least from my vantage point. All right, if you have any feedbacks or thoughts, feel free to post those below. And as always, stay safe out there.